The growth and trajectory for digital assets and Web3 has just begun. As a result, there's tons of opportunity in our industry and also tons of challenges. There's no exception for this when it comes to CPAs, tax professionals, and accountants. These professionals are crucial to the development and maturation of this industry. In this video today, I'm going to go over some of the opportunities and challenges for accountants, CPAs, and tax professionals in Web3 and what we should do about this, both as Web3 business owners as well as CPAs and tax professionals. So what are some of the challenges in Web3 for accountants? First of all, the decentralized nature to blockchain transactions that take place across non-custodial and custodial wallets and exchanges can make it difficult and cumbersome to properly track and account for transactions appropriately. As you know, when it comes to accounting and taxes, accuracy is key. So this challenge needs to be addressed by accountants appropriately to make sure that they have accurate financial statements for their clients. Additionally, outside of these accounting challenges, there's many tax challenges as well. With digital assets, it's a new asset class that's forming, but it's constantly evolving. The IRS gave tax notice their initial tax guidance back in 2014 when they indicated that Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies were taxed as property. Over the years since then, we've just seen different blockchains, different asset classes such as DeFi and NFTs, and just many different developments in the space that tax regulators, including the IRS, have to catch up to in terms of providing guidance. And there's always these moments in time where we have new asset classes. Me as a CPA at Camuso CPA, we have our clients participating in these new types of business transactions and purchasing different types of assets. And you know, there's time periods where we're not going to have detailed guidance from the IRS. So this creates another challenge of navigating these ambiguous tax implications that are associated with some of these new types of transactions and new types of asset classes. This obviously creates a tax risk that needs to be addressed by both the tax professionals and the companies or investors that are transacting in these assets. But appropriately addressing this tax risk and mitigating for this tax risk appropriately by research and documentation and taking the correct tax positions is imperative, and another very large challenge for tax professionals, accountants, and CPAs in Web3. Another large challenge for tax professionals is making sure that we're applying the correct pricing and due diligence to crypto assets at scale. This becomes difficult due to the nature and volume of these transactions, making sure that we're taking the correct valuation approaches and that overall there's due diligence getting completed across ending holdings, unmatched balances, prices getting applied to, and valuations getting applied to specific transactions. This is another large challenge because we're dealing with large data sets that are usually multiple data sets from many different places that we're going to need to consolidate and apply the correct pricing methodology to in order to be able to stand up to an audit. So now these challenges that CPAs, accountants, and tax professionals are facing, along with Web3 business owners, along with digital asset investors, are also creating very large opportunities for the accounting industry. And that's because due to this decentralized nature of the transactions that are taking place across blockchains, that's creating this difficulty from an accounting perspective. Skilled accountants are needed to help address this because it's just very cumbersome. It's very difficult for businesses and investors to manage, and they need professionals that are skilled in this space, that are spending time in the block explorers, that can trace their transactions and appropriately account for this. Additionally, from a tax perspective, Web3 companies need a CPA, they need a tax professional that understands the tax code and understands how the tax code relates to digital assets and their specific portfolio and business, and have someone that can provide them guidance and help them understand what the tax implications are to their transactions and what positions they should be taking in their accounting and on their tax returns. So these accounting and tax challenges are actually creating very large opportunities for CPAs, for tax professionals, for accountants to come into this space and provide immense value to the industry participants. Now, the big problem is that because this is a new industry and there's also a very large opportunity associated with it, there are many accountants that are, rushing into the space because they see the business opportunity associated with it. But, some of the problems with this is that there's not a lot of training in the space. And there's also not even a lot of experienced firms in the space. So when these new accountants are coming in and trying to get involved, there's a very large and ever-growing learning curve that they have to address, and there's not a lot of resources for them to address it. So unfortunately, what I'm seeing a lot in my practice are firms and accountants that are not doing a proper job when it comes to accounting and taxes for digital assets and for Web3 businesses. So, the issues can take many forms. I'll probably do a whole nother video on this. It can be lack of due diligence from an accounting perspective, just blatant, borderline negligent things that I've seen, such as just not doing due diligence regarding verifying calculated ending assets, unmatched cost basis data, bad, incorrect pricing applied to certain transactions, just an overall lack of due diligence and lack of knowledge when it comes to blockchain accounting, which again, if they're doing this without any training, or if they're doing this but they're getting training, what I see, they're getting training from firms where the firms don't have a full knowledge of this, and they may just be plugging your wallets, plugging your blockchains into an accounting software, and basically just taking the output from the accounting software, which can lead to serious inaccuracies. So that's one issue, is just, no deep understanding and training when it comes to this digital asset accounting, and then as a result, making errors. And these errors are bad because they're going to affect the current year, and then due to the cumulative nature of your cost basis across tax years, these errors could even carry in the future years. So it can become a huge problem. It's not uncommon for someone to come to my firm and they had another firm handling their accounting maybe for years, and it's just done completely incorrectly. We end up having to redo it all. So you want to avoid that. Can create costly accounting headaches, costly tax errors for you. It's something you want to avoid. In that same regard, there, like I said, is a lot of interpretation when it comes to the tax implications for some of these digital asset transactions. And some firms are advising clients very aggressive positions, and in other cases I see firms advising clients on protocols or on certain transactions where they're not fully understanding what's taking place in the transaction, and therefore not providing the correct advice regarding the tax position to take. And I could only imagine that it's not documented appropriately either. So there's this problem right now of there's this huge need in Web3 and amongst digital asset investors for experienced CPAs that work with digital assets, that can appropriately account for them and advise on the tax implications associated with them. And there's accountants that are coming in to fill that void, but there's still this disconnect for knowledge and training. So you as an accountant, this is a huge opportunity for you to get that training and for you to serve these clients. You as a Web3 owner, you as a digital asset investor, you need to scrutinize who you work with, because even some well-known firms I've seen are lacking some of the accounting and tax skills that are needed in order to properly serve their clients. So you need to do a deep due diligence on whoever you're going to choose to work with, and make sure that they have a good track record, that they have a good accounting system in place, and that they have a deep understanding of the tax code as it relates to digital assets. And ask a lot of questions regarding their due diligence process, their approach to taking tax positions, and really try to dig into their knowledge overall of blockchain, digital assets, and Web3, because it really is right now like walking through a minefield out there. Are you a Web3 business or a digital asset investor that's looking for an experienced cryptocurrency CPA firm that understands your accounting and tax needs? Look no further than Camuso CPA. We've worked with digital asset investors and Web3 businesses since 2016. Regardless of the level of complexity in your digital asset accounting and your tax needs, Camuso CPA has you covered. Whether you're a Web3 business owner or digital asset investor, contact Camuso CPA today, and me and my team will schedule a time for us to speak one-on-one to discuss your business and your investment portfolio.